Hello.
Yay, we are all here.
Hi.
Yes, happy to be here. How are you guys today?
Fantastic. What about you, Lindsay? Lindsay, congratulations on your new home. We're all very excited for you.
Thank you. Just trying to get organized over here. You know, a lot of chaos going on, but it's all good. I'm so happy to be here. And I'm happy to be here and talk to you guys because for our listeners, they have a chance now to listen to a fast English conversation. The entire team of All Ears English guys is here today. And we know that isn't this one of the skills that students tell us they struggle with? Have you all heard that from our listeners?
Yeah. Especially for you guys preparing for the IELTS exam, right? The listening exam is no joke. All kinds of accents, sometimes very fast. You have to be ready to understand all kinds of listening audio. So this is great preparation for that.
Yes,
I was
100%.
just talking to an IELTS student this morning in a personal coach class, and we were talking about how important it is to practice your skills for the exam in as many different ways as possible, because you can't just take practice tests. So material like this, guys, videos like this with natural English, topics you will find on the IELTS exam, this is the best preparation.
Yes, 100%. And the way to go deeper with this kind of preparation is to join our program, Conversations and Coffee. So go over to allearsenglish.com/fast and sign up. You get a weekly quiz with a fast English conversation with 3 or 4 speakers and members of our team. You get to practice your listening skills. But today, guys, we are talking about an interesting topic, and that is true crime. Very interesting genre. What do you think when you hear the genre true crime?
I love true crime.
I do too.
Yes.
There are a billion true crime podcasts right now. I feel like true crime is really having a moment.
Yeah.
Do you guys listen to that type of podcast?
I do.
I don't. But what
missing out, Michelle.
You're missing out. You get into it. Yeah.
I'm sure I am.
I think the most interesting thing about true crime is the fact that I have heard like sociological marketing research being done that links women being the most common listeners. Women in their 30s and 40s, basically us.
I'm such a stereotype.
Being the most common listeners of, of true crime. I think that's fascinating. I mean, why is that, do you guys think?
Oh my
What is it about women?
I heard this really interesting and maybe disturbing theory once that serial killers, as far as like a husband or someone you would date, are very appealing because they're usually very charismatic and they're people, right? They're
charming.
Charming, right?
Yeah.
So I don't feel like it's that draw for me, but I have heard that theory that like women secretly are in love with the nature of a serial killer minus the serial killer part.
I don't like that theory at all.
No, right? I don't like that.
That is fascinating. Well, let's get down to some definitions. What is the difference between a true crime, series and an actual, just a mystery? What really is true crime? Let's let our listeners know.
Yeah, mysteries are usually fiction. It's just a whodunit. You know, there's a fictional, maybe a killer or some type of murder, and a mystery. When I read a mystery novel, it's fiction and you're trying to figure out what happened. Whereas true crime are actually events that happened. Real people who have died, about real serial killers who went on these killing sprees. So it's a very different level where you're listening to a story of something that actually really happened.
I went through a serial killer phase in high school. Not that I was a serial killer.
Oh, God. Or in love with one.
I was way ahead of my time.
Big confession right there. Yeah.
And then I was like, maybe I'll teach English. This is safer. No.
A little career transition, right? Yeah.
I evaluated my 5-year plan as a serial killer, and I thought, that's not going to cut it. No. So,
guys, she's joking, just in case you don't know. She's joking.
No, what I mean is, so I've always just devoured books, and I really got into reading like books about famous serial killers. I know this sounds terrible, but what it is I love the Beatles. And the Beatles' White Album, famously or not, was like one of Charles Manson's favorite tools on his commune. They got messages from the Beatles' White Album. And I love the Beatles, and I learned this sort of stuff. And then I read Helter Skelter, which is a very cool book. And then for school, I had to read True Blood. What is it? No, that's the vampire show. Truman Capote. In Cold Blood. That's what it is.
In Cold
I had to
Blood,
read that for
that's so
school.
good.
And I just got into that like genre of books. So,
Got
clarify,
it.
I'm not a violent person.
Okay, yeah, just so we know. What are some of your favorite true crime shows now, guys? TV shows or books now that you're into? Are there any that you like to tune into regularly?
Crime Junkie is one that I like. It's each
Is that a
episode
podcast?
What
Yeah.
it's a podcast,
Okay.
and each episode's about 1 hour, and it's the whole, because a lot of podcasts are like a series, several episodes for one crime, and then Crime Junkie is 1 hour for the whole story, sort of compiled. So because that's a time commitment to spend all of these hours for one story, so maybe for those of us who have less time, Crime Junkie is a good one.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Michelle, how do you feel about true
Yeah.
crime? Where do you stand on this?
I know. I'm like trying to figure out how to jump in on this one. But guys, this is actually good because you can still jump in on the conversation even
Yes,
if you are
totally.
not into that topic,
Yes.
right? So you can ask questions and things like that. How do I feel about true crime? I just I don't know. I'm like scared. I'm a scaredy cat, right? I don't know. I don't like that stuff. I don't like things that are going to keep me up at night. I'm sure I would find it interesting. I do like mysteries. I do like reading mysteries. But I don't really like to be, I think the true part would get to me. And that would be a little bit scary.
Sure.
And then I don't know. So I'm asking a question. So what is the appeal? Like, is it just like finding, cause I know what was that, what was it on Netflix? Like Making a Murderer, that was
yeah.
one. I remember that was it. And some of them actually then they become popular stories, right? And then there's some influence in the cases.
Yeah,
like,
it'll
really
reopen a
popular.
whole
serial.
case
Yeah.
because there'll be media
Yeah.
attention. And there have been
So, like,
some
what-
convictions overturned or serial killers found because of
Yes.
that.
Or I just saw
Yes.
over the weekend, I saw a guy on YouTube who looks for like cars that have been submerged in water for years and years. And he cracked a cold case I think in Tennessee or Kentucky of two teenagers that had driven or had gone into the river. And he took his boat and he was scanning the water and he said, "Oh, that's a car. That's a car.
That's amazing.
That's the Pontiac that they were looking for." And they opened the cold case and solved it and were
that's
able
so
to have a
cool.
proper funeral. Yeah, really
that's
interesting. So this is
amazing.
not just movies, right? It's on YouTube. It's people documenting it in live,
Totally.
like in real time. Really good.
I think
And I think one benefit is just awareness, right? For the average person who is susceptible to a serial killer, who, if they're like, "Oh, come help me with this," and you're maybe pretty innocent and you want to be helpful and you can get yourself into really dangerous situations. I do feel like the more you know about these stories and you find out how people are abducted and what is being done to lure them in, the more I think you would not fall for some of those things. So I think
Interesting.
that
I
is
never
good
thought
to
of
have
it
the
that way.
awareness.
Yeah, now I
Interesting.
feel like I have to listen
Right?
to this in my life. Aubrey,
Save your life.
I mean, could you just send me like a
Just a
clip notes,
summary,
like
yeah.
a list of like things I should avoid based on what you.
Yes, I will. And on the Crime Junkie one, they have this slogan sort of where they say, be weird, be rude, stay alive. Something like that.
Oh,
Maybe I'm
yeah.
not getting it exactly right, but they talk about that all the time. They're like, this girl felt like she needed to be nice. She didn't want to seem
Yes.
rude.
Yeah.
And ended up dying, right? It's
No, that
like,
makes
be rude.
sense.
Okay, yeah,
If
please
you
send me that
suspect
because now I'm
something,
nervous.
be
Right.
weird.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Like if
like,
I could see that. That's a good point though, right? Because as women are socialized to just, as you said, be kind, be nice, go along with
helpful.
things. So if there's
Smile.
someone behind you and you feel something's off, your heckles go up and something's wrong, something's not right.
Right.
You
Be
might
weird,
be more
scream.
likely to just, right. We're not as likely maybe as guys to just like, cross the street or jump around or just face the guy and say like, "What are you doing? Why are you following me so closely?"
Yep.
Right? And that is a really important message. I like that they do that actually.
I think I'm only interested in the true crime stories that that teach me about history as well. You know, like The Devil in White City. That's a really famous book.
I have that
It's
book.
so
I
good.
should read it. I have to read
It's
it.
so good.
Okay.
And like it's true crime, but it doesn't read like true crime. It's a novel about, the World's Fair in Chicago in 19 whatever. There's
cool.
a podcast I'm listening to now called Bad Women. The Ripper Retold, and it's not about Jack the Ripper. It's about the women that were his victims and telling their stories. And so it's about like the rights of women in that period, how women were victims or fallen out of society and they had no choices. And so like I like the perspective that this. I like the window this can open into history just through like one person or one situation.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good point. Do you guys think that in a way, a true crime could be a little insensitive to the victims or the families that have to kind of suffer again as the show is created? Money's made off the show, inevitably. What are your thoughts on that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially if the media attention causes more, almost like paparazzi, or more people to be bothering them when they've tried to move on. That's really devastating, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's, if it is we keep mentioning serial killers, but there's, crime. It could be true crime robberies. It could be like a lot of different types of crime, right?
Sure.
But I do think that people, less so nowadays, but people still tend to sort of victim blame, victim shame, whatever the term is, right? You shouldn't have been there. You shouldn't have trusted him. You shouldn't have had a date with him.
Shouldn't have
You
worn that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And so that's what this podcast, Bad Women, is about. Like, no, like these were women with full lives, and like it's like.
Yeah.
Stop putting all the attention on Jack the Ripper. It's like, oh, who is he?
Yeah.
Oh, this is so exciting.
Yeah.
Like, that's not our focus. Like, we should learn about history a different way, not by focusing on him.
I love
Because
it.
especially there is probably a certain amount of just fame, like seeking fame with these serial killers, and the more we let their name be known and they become famous because of it, that's going to appeal to a certain type of person. So that really does need. I wish we never knew their names.
It
if
makes
the police would.
That's a good point. Yeah, Aubrey, sorry to cut you off. It makes me think of the marathon bomber. When that happened, they put the younger kid, on the cover of like GQ or one men's magazine as with hair. Yeah, do you remember that? I don't know if you guys heard about that. It happened around that time, within 6 months of the event. He was portrayed on the cover of a men's magazine, a very fashionable guy, and it was a major uproar. Like, why is this criminal on the cover of a men's magazine?
That's terrible. Oh, that's shocking.
There have been other criminals that I think have been glorified in that way. Maybe certainly it's like, if somebody is like good looking, people then, I forget who it was, but there have been people who have been like good looking. I remember good-looking men who then the women,
Ted Bundy. He was a looker.
Ted Bundy, Charles Manson too. I think. For
Sure.
sure.
Really interesting.
No, but at the time,
I think
guess,
about the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood movie. Quentin Tarantino did this about Charles Manson, but he changed what actually happened.
I did not like that.
Which that's always interesting too, when it's like kind of true crime, but then. What if this had been different? What if something had changed?
Didn't even fit in.
But I think again, what you said, Lindsay, that I could see that really being horrible for the family.
Oh my
kind of
gosh.
see this and be devastated all over again.
Absolutely.
Like it could have been different,
Yeah, this is a great topic, guys. There's a lot of different directions this conversation could go in if we were to keep talking, guys. So for our listeners, this is an example of the kinds of things that we talk about in Conversations in Coffee, and you want to be able to add value to a conversation in this way. So go to allearsenglish.com/fast to sign up for Conversations in Coffee. You get that weekly quiz and get to improve your fast listening skills. All right, guys.
Transcript to the conversation.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, that's huge, right? Because you don't need to understand everything right away. You can go back to the transcript, see what's been said, and then listen again and get better and better. So good. So good. All right, everyone. Thank you for hanging out together today, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.